and welcome to today's video. Today we are starting our video game journal. This is very exciting, and we are going to be doing our first spread for our first game, which is Strange Horticulture. Now, I would like to say that this is somewhat inspired by the channel Gaming in Yellow. I have been watching their videos for years and I really love them, and I love that they do like video game journals, and I am an avid journaler. I've been journaling since 2017, and so I am very excited to do a video game journal. I actually attempted one a few years back before I was a streamer, and it didn't quite work out. So I'm really excited to be doing one with you guys. So here's the idea behind this, right? In this video game journal, we are only covering the games that we play together on stream. So this is a game I streamed for a few days. It's a shorter game. I believe the runtime is about 8 hours, 12 if you do all of the endings and such. And also, I will say, this video is not scripted, which I tried to script a lot of my videos because I can tend to ramble. So I didn't do that this time, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's talk this game. So some of the basics of Strange Horticulture. According to the Steam page, it describes Strange Horticulture, it says, as an occult puzzle game in which you play as the proprietor of a local plant shop. Find and identify new plants, pet your cat, speak to a coven, or join a cult. Use your collection of powerful plants to influence the story and unravel Undermere's dark mystery. So it was released January 21st of 2022. It's made by Bad Viking and published by Iceberg Interactive. It's basically a mystery puzzle detective game, right? And I'm gonna go ahead up front and say that if you have the option, if you watch this video and you decide that you really like it, I recommend you play it on PC. That is my recommendation. Play, or at the very least, play where you have an option to use a mouse. I don't know. I don't have a Switch 2, so I don't know if the mouse functions like pretty great there, but I would want a mouse if I could play it again. I played this on my OG Switch, and it was fine, like playing it hooked up to the TV. But see, before I originally started streaming this game, I tried to play it on my own, and I played it handheld because that's how I play a lot of Switch games. I like to play them before bed. The way that some people read before bed, I like to play video games before bed, and it was too small. The screen was too small. It does have a magnifying glass feature, so you can read stuff a little bit better, but there's so much reading in this game, and there's also a lot of clicking and dragging things around, and that can be kind of tedious with a Joy-Con, so that's my recommendation. I would play it on PC if I had the option to, but it is most certainly playable on console, and I just don't think it's doable handheld. Like, I don't play it on a Steam Deck, not attached to a television. Don't play it on a Switch, not attached to some sort of television. That is my recommendation. And it's such a short game too, that even if you don't have a TV, play it at a friend's house, it's worth the wait to do that because you're reading so much stuff in this game. But let's talk about the game mechanics, because while I do not have a video game degree, I'm not someone who is a game dev. I am a storyteller, I am a writer, and I think that the mechanics of this game lend very well to what it's trying to accomplish. An example would be, as you identify plants in this game, right? You start the game not knowing what any of the plants you have are, and then you have this book that has some of the descriptions of the plants that you're going to be, the descriptions of the plants you have. And so people will come and ask for a certain plant, you'll look at the description, and you'll try to match it, right? The images of the plants aren't exact. Sometimes it's just the leaves, sometimes it's just the petals of the flower, sometimes there's not even a picture and it says like, oh, it has a bitter scent. So then you can kind of look at it under a magnifying glass, you can scrutinize it a little closer, and that's how you'll get information like, oh, this plant has a bitter scent, and they're like, oh, okay, so it's this one, stuff like that, right? But you weren't the person who wrote all the information in the book, so it's kind of a little bit like opinion based. Some things aren't quite exact. You know, in a lot of games, when you get one right and they're like, oh, you identified this correctly, they would mark it for you, and then you would never have to look that up again, right? Not with this game. You have these little tags that you can put on the plants to label them however you want. And so immediately after you identify it, before you forget which one is which, you have to go in and identify it yourself. You have to go and write down in the tag. This is another reason a PC would be great, because I'd love to use a keyboard instead of like moving my Joy-Con around to like, you know, identify everything on the little keyboard. But anyway, you have to type out the names of all these plants. And so the mechanics of this game are incredibly manual, right? It's a lot of flipping pages in this book. You're constantly getting these like pieces of all these different pieces of paper. And you have ways to organize these things, but like you have all these loose pieces of paper that have different information on them. You're like scouring a map. You have these like little keys that like help you to understand how different things work in the game. There's a lot of puzzles, right? It is a puzzle game. And I think that's very interesting. I also think what's pretty cool on the minimal side of it is a lot of it comes from your own imagination, right? There's a lot of reading that happens. You do have characters that pop up and talk to you, right? They come into the shop. But like when you go on your little quests with the map, you're just reading from text and you have some vague images of what's going on versus like actually being in like your entire screen being a new location. And it does ask you to use your imagination quite a bit in that way. And I think that's really cool. I think that's a good thing, you know? I think some people might be like, oh, there's not a lot going on in that way. But no, because you do get accustomed to these mechanics, right? And I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a few times that they do interesting things on screen while those things are happening. And it like jolts you. It creates like an impact because you don't expect anything to happen. You don't expect to see anything new. So then when you do, it's just like the coolest thing ever, you know? It sends like a chill down your spine. But yeah, I thought it was really cool. Story-wise, I also thought this was a really good game. I would say that it feels very Lovecraftian, you know, eldritch horror, but it's not scary. And I feel like that's something to clarify. It kind of feels the same way that Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated uses a lot of like horror like visual cues and references in terms of like the way that they animate things and the way they like introduce their villains and such. It feels like that in terms of like horror, but it's not like actually scary. It's kind of a similar sort of thing, right? Like this game plays a lot with the idea of like I think dread, and they do even kind of refer to their villain somewhat as the Dread. That's one of the many names for it. So you know, dread is like a central thing in this game, right? The idea of something not being right and not knowing what that thing is with this game. I really enjoyed it, you know? I think that it's a kind of game that I love. I love an indie game like that threads that line really nicely between scary and mysterious. For me, I love horror elements, but I don't like scary games. And so I feel like this game walks that line very beautifully. And it really makes you feel like a horticulturalist. So I guess maybe we'll talk a little bit about why I chose to do the journal spread the way that I did. Oh, also, as you can see, so I did like when I started and finished this game as like part of it, and I rated it 4 stars. I do really like this game, like clearly 4 out of 5 is very generous. It's not like my most favorite game I've ever played in my entire life. If it was my most favorite game I played in my entire life, then it would get 5 stars. Honestly, maybe I would rate it slightly differently now in retrospect, because it isn't my most favorite game in the world. Maybe I'd rate it 3, but whatever. And then I did a little summary based off of the Steam site. And then also, okay, so we have, it says Strange Horticulture. I used my little Kodiak photo printer to print off the little logo for it. And I also included some magazine clippings from the Smithsonian magazine I got from like a bookstore for free because they were like throwing all this stuff away. So that's how I used the greenery, and that's also how I got that like little book. So in my mind, I thought the book was kind of a fun homage to the apothecary. I keep saying apothecary. No, Omnimo's Apothecary Diaries. It's a very good show. Highly recommend. Anyway, yeah. So I used that book because it reminded me of the horticulturalist book. I was actually going to like maybe put some writing on the front of it or something that looked like the logo from the game. I meant to include the logo from the game. It didn't quite happen. I also skipped including the part where I tried to paint on the corner of that paper with some like coffee. It didn't work. I tried to use like regular coffee. Like I made a cup of coffee, poured a little into a cup that you see on the side there, and then I tried to put that, like paint that on the page, and it just didn't work. I've used this paper with coffee staining before, and I think I know what the problem was. Normally what I do is I make instant coffee and I make it like 3 times more potent than it's supposed to be, and then I soak the paper in it several times, and that's how I get it to look like there's coffee all over it, coffee stained. I think that was what I should have done. I just thought maybe if I just dropped some coffee on it, it would do something. It didn't. It's fine. And maybe it's because I didn't have milk in it. I poured it out before I put my milk and sugar, and maybe that affects it. I don't know. But what I do know is that it didn't work, so there's a little wet spot, and it didn't work out great. That's fine. Also, as you can see, I was running out of room to write my thoughts because of my big journal picture that I put on in there. So I found a creative solution that you will see soon after I finished writing all my thoughts. But yeah. Oh yeah, so the journal spread, and then I included that little tag because I thought it reminded me of all the tags you put on your plants in the game. And yeah, once I add more elements, I'll talk about those. As for gameplay, I was not smart enough for this game. There were several mechanics that kind of went over my head, which is kind of crazy because like I'm not like a stupid person, but I will say I'm also not very good at video game mechanics. Like there's this children's game that I love, Ginny LeClue, and some of the mechanics confused me just because like I didn't actually understand what they were asking me to do in a lot of points at Ginny LeClue, and I think that was kind of what was happening with the mechanics in this game. Maybe this is controversial, I don't know, but I'm not really above looking up answers to things in video games. I'm not a purist in that way, mostly because, and here's what I will tell you. Here's why I will tell you this, okay? Story time from childhood. I had a DS growing up, right? And growing up, I played all of my games on my DS. I loved my DS. And my mom would oftentimes buy me Disney games because they made, if you didn't know this, they made a Disney game for like literally every Disney movie that came out. There was a DS game for all of them. I had the Bolt game. I also had the Enchanted game. Remember that movie Enchanted? Yeah, I had a DS game for it. And I got held up like a good chunk of the way through this game because there was like, I was supposed to make this dress out of flowers, and I needed purple flowers, and I didn't know how to find that. And I combed that game several different times for these flowers. I started the game over and would continuously get hung up at that spot. I was hung up there for years of my childhood life. I never finished the game. I still haven't finished that game, by the way. Still haven't, okay? And then, like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, I was like, can I find the answer to that online? I looked it up. You want to know where the purple flowers were? They don't exist in the game. You have to take blue and red flowers and mix them together to get the purple flowers. When I tell you, I was like, I was furious. I was, but it was that exhausted kind of furious you can only get when you're like, what the hell do you mean? It was terrible. And I don't want to do that, quite frankly. I hate that shit. I hate it. I hated that, like, I never got to finish that game as a kid because I got stuck there for, like, my entire childhood. There was no point. Why? You know what I'm saying? Okay. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Since then, I look stuff up. I will give it my darndest. I will give it a few tries. If it's like a legit like puzzle game and I think I want to sit on it, then I will sit on it. But the thing is, like, after like getting completely held up on something for like ages, especially on stream, when there's like people watching, I don't want to hold them up. I don't want them to have to sit there for an hour and watch me fail something over and over and over again. I don't think that's enjoyable to watch as a viewer. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that is enjoyable, but I want to create a good experience. I want them to get to see the game because it's a good game. After like 3 or 4 or 5 sometimes tries, if I like really can't figure it out, then I'm gonna look it up. Mostly, like, for example, with this game, one time that happened, and it was because I did every single combination of plant I could think of for it to be the answer to this particular puzzle. You know what it turned out to be? I didn't have some of the plants I needed for that puzzle. I didn't have them yet. Why? Because there was another location puzzle that I hadn't solved yet because I couldn't figure it out, and I'd been trying to figure it out for several in-game days, and I just couldn't figure it out. And so I didn't actually have all the pieces I needed. So if I kept trying to solve that puzzle, I wouldn't have been able to because I didn't have what I needed, you know? So like I was never going to solve that on my own because I could not. I was already completely stumped by the location puzzle. So I looked it up, the answer, I think 3 separate times, and I'm not shy about that. That's what happened. I'm going to be honest. Is that cheating? I don't know. Some people say it is. Some people say it isn't. I don't care. I'm not playing esports. I think it's probably fine, but you know, it is what it is. Right here, as you can see, I did a little plant shelf because it reminded me of the little shelves in the game. So I thought that was kind of cute. So I did my own little shelf, some with stickers, some with drawings. Thought that was kind of cute. And yeah, oh, also you can see that I just taped the thoughts page to the bottom. And the idea is that it'll fold out as like a kind of fold out neat thing, and then it'll fold up into the journal. I don't know what to say. I really liked this game. I thought it was really fun. I think we're gonna play this. Part of the reason I came back to this game was because recently they released a sequel game called Strange Antiquity. And I know you don't know this about me, but I love an antique store. I love an antique store. I love a thrift store. I thrift like all my clothes. I love thrifting. And I love antique stores. I like just walking around them. There's an art to it. You put on your music and you just walk around and you just like look and touch everything and you have a great time. And you stay away from all the cursed shit. It's great. I love it. So I'm very excited to go and play that game as well. But yeah, I love an antique store, and I just know in my heart of hearts that I will in fact adore Strange Antiquity, so I'm very excited about it. Yeah, I think it's a good, solid journal page. I really like it. I'm excited to play Strange Antiquity when that comes out. That's gonna be so exciting. And yeah, thank you. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a good day. I hope you like the journal spread. If you want to watch us play these games, if you want to watch me play these games live, check out my Twitch, Adelaide Ordell. We are like getting really, really close to making affiliate. And if I make affiliate, then I can like have emotes and I can like keep these videos actually uploaded onto my Twitch, which should be super cool because then y'all can watch gameplay after the fact. Right now, that's not possible. But anyway, so this is the final look of the journal. I think it's pretty good. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. And yeah, bye-bye.